All right. So we're recording. Thank you for joining us for the latest Make Guitar podcast. How you doing, Mitch?
I think I'm doing pretty good, I feel like I was going through a uninspired couple weeks. I don't know, I was just kind of not having any ideas for anything or, now I'm getting a little more inspired this week.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, was it musical inspiration mainly or project
Just just
inspiration?
everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's certainly understandable.
Yeah.
Given what's going on in the world. Um,
Yeah.
been
I
going
think
through
when
some of
I'm
that.
when I'm uninspired, I play a lot of online chess.
Oh,
Like
okay. Well, there are worse things.
yeah, yeah. The online chess is pretty good. So and I enjoy it. It's pretty good, but it takes up a lot of time. It just eats up your time.
Right. Yeah, but I don't know. It doesn't rot your brain. I think there are a lot of things that you could do when you're feeling uninspired that would actually be counterproductive.
Yeah, right.
Like sitting around watching a lot of Netflix or something could be, or
Yeah.
even YouTube.
Well, I watched the Beatles movie. I watched Get Back. I watched all 3 episodes. So that's like 8 hours, right? It's like crazy long. So I watched the whole thing. It was pretty good. But I paid for Disney Plus, but I'm going to cancel my Disney Plus, right? I just did it just for a month. But then I was like, I got a month of Disney Plus. What do they have? And so I looked through all their movies, and it's kind of weird. They just have a lot of classic Disney movies, and then they have all the Star Wars stuff. And then there's a lot of weird, like these series, of like princess this and kid kind of movies. And then there's a bunch of National Geographic movies,
Right. Yeah,
right?
they really, I don't know, they really kind of sealed the deal with that. The documentaries are pretty good.
Yeah, actually, some of those look pretty good. Like they have one on the Mars rover, and some other ones, right? So sharks, I could everything about sharks, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
plenty of content for you to waste your time on if you decide to do that.
yeah, yeah, right. What was good actually is that it wasn't that inspiring.
Mhm.
So it wasn't tempting. It wasn't too tempting. It was kind of meh.
Mhm. Yeah, I I did a bad thing. So I got this gift certificate for Amazon, and I don't use Amazon, so I had to create an account for it. Well, this happened last year, but then we got the same gift this year, so I decided I was going to use it to get a Korg Volca keys, which is really cool. Just arrived, but um, I decided to upgrade to um, what's it called, Amazon Plus or whatever, the Prime, so that I could get it delivered the next day, which was really great because then I've had it for a few days now rather than having to wait until next week. But there's nothing on Amazon Prime that I really want to watch. That's included, of course. So I
Yeah,
don't know. I got to check to make sure I'm not missing out. There could be like a great Rolling Stones documentary or something like that. Probably not.
yeah. Hey, I got a question. Let me ask you about the Volcas, right? Does it have like little patch points?
No, that's the modular that has a little tiny. It's almost
Yeah,
like a wire that you solder a pedal to
yeah,
together.
yeah. It's like for the breadboard kind of wire.
Right. Yeah, this one doesn't have any of that. This is basically it's all knobs. Oh, this is the wrong one. That's the 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 beats. The Volca keys just looks like this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, okay, cool. Because I saw somebody on the internet with the Volca synth with the modular thing, and I thought that was interesting. So I was wondering if that had the same kind of patching ability.
Yeah. It doesn't. I actually um, I think the modular is kind of ugly, and the little wires it seems sort of cheap, like a Radio Shack project. Like one of those. I mean, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's really cool. I
Yeah,
shouldn't like belittle it, but it's just not for me.
yeah. I could see that. I mean, in a way, like what you have is like pre-patched, right? And that's okay too. Like, actually, I kind of like that, you know. The other thing probably has that too, but then you can patch it if you want, you know.
That's right. You don't need to run any patch cables to make that run.
Yeah. I just didn't know a lot about it, but I saw a video where somebody was playing that, and so I was curious, you know.
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple other Volcas. There's the FM. There's a FM synthesis one.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
there's a whole
pretty
bunch of
interesting.
these.
Yeah, and then there's another drum one called Drum. So yeah, they're a pretty cool little series. They even make
Yeah.
like a little mixer, so you can just have them all, um, you know, um, built into a little workstation.
Oh, funny. Actually, that reminds me of the Stylophone. Have you ever seen that? It's like it kind of looks like the Volca keys, but it's got like a little pencil.
Hmm.
It's connected by a wire to the device, and then it has a keyboard that's kind of just a little metallic. It looks like the almost like the circuit board, and you kind of run the little pencil along the keys to play it.
Yeah, this one doesn't come with a pencil, but it has the same. It's similar, kind of like the ribbon keyboard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it was fun. It was funny because they had that in the Beatles movie at one point.
Oh, really? That a
Like,
stylophone?
yeah, somebody in the studio. They're in the Abbey Road or the Apple Studios, and Billy Preston is there, and they're just kind of crowded around. Somebody's like, "Hey,
Oh,
check this out," you know, and he's playing it with the pencil, and then Billy Preston's playing it, you know, and he's kind of getting the hang of it. Like, it was kind of funny, you know. I have one of those stylophones. I never use it. I traded for it at one of the swap meets.
it seems like it'd be a fun thing to play around with, just kind of as a toy. I just
Yeah, maybe.
can't
Yeah,
really see myself making music with a pencil.
yeah, yeah. I'm just not like some people are super musical and they just sit down with anything, they make music with it. Like I gotta kind of it I gotta wrap my head around something before I'm like feeling comfortable with it. And then I'd have to just really train myself to play the stylophone, which I wouldn't be playing it that often. So like I don't want to spend a lot of time with it.
Yeah, well, that was part of the reason that I went with the Volca keys. I watched a video where a guy compared the keys with the modular, and he was kind of doing a comparison, like which one is going to like earn a permanent spot on my synth board. And he went with the modular because it had more surprises and things like that built into it. But
Yeah.
that video sold me on the keys because I wanted something that you could just kind of like hit the ground running with. It is basically, well, here's another title of a video that I saw today that convinced me post getting the keys. It was called like, is the Volca keys the only analog synthesizer you need? Like, that's a total clickbaity title, but it worked. I mean, I don't
You
really think I
clicked.
need. Yeah,
Did
I
you click
clicked.
on
I
the bait?
watched it. I agreed with him. Like, if I needed another analog synthesizer, I could get another one of those, and I can control it with a like a MIDI keyboard. I actually have one right behind me that's pretty decent. Um,
Oh, nice.
so yeah, it's got a MIDI in. Um,
Yeah. I think it like we're on to the thing where, we got to be smart enough to like quit obsessing over the gear and just like making the music, whatever's on hand.
right.
That's going to be the theme for the year, you know? I know speaking of being tempted by gear, I saw a demo of this new Mxr Octave pedal. Like JHS guys did a demo of it and it sounded pretty cool. I was like, wow, that's pretty neat,
Hmm.
I could use myself some octave pedal, but then I was like, no, I can't not buy gear.
Is it like an octave fuzz, or is it like a digital octave?
I'm pretty sure it's like a digital, like a DSP thing. It has
Okay.
6 knobs, and so there's octave down, 2 octave down, 1 octave up, 2 octave up, and then there's a modulation knob and a volume knob, like overall volume. So you can just kind of mix in all the octaves. And then it has 2 buttons, like one of them turns on a fuzz, so you can get a fuzz octave like the original Blue Box kind of fuzz, right? And the other one, I think it activates the modulation. I forget,
Hmm. Okay.
but it's pretty cool. It sounded a lot like the Pog or the Pog, the mini Pog,
Right.
um, or other like the Digitech Whammy or something. It sounds a lot like those kind of pedals. So I'm pretty sure it was like a DSP
Okay.
chip, but it
Yeah,
sounded good.
I'll watch it. But on the subject, I think I'm going to use that as my inspiration for next week's song.
Yeah.
See if I can find a octave patch on my GT3, which I
Oh,
tried to
nice.
use this for this week's song to get reverse echo, but I ended up using the GarageBand one. But this looks like um, it's got a harmonist. Um, that's probably the thing.
Yeah, that might do an octave. Like you could harmonize. Maybe it lets you do octave up or octave down.
Yeah, I'll have to dig around in the menus, but I think this has a lot of stuff. I was surprised that it didn't have reverse echo.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty old too, so it's like, I don't know when that came out because I think like Boss around the DD5 added a reverse echo mode. I have a DD7 that has it, but
Hmm.
I think the earlier one had it too, but I'm not an expert on the history of Boss stuff, but somewhere around the DD5, DD7, they added reverse echo mode.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know when that was, but here's a question: did you use the reverse echo on your song this week?
No, I didn't. I didn't use any echo, I don't think. Maybe or just
Okay.
a little bit in GarageBand, like in reverb on the amp, on the amp modeler.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear it. I just was wondering because we talked about it last week.
Yeah. I just picked one of their stock sounds under crunchy guitar. I picked like fat amp or whatever. So it looks
Okay.
like the way they kind of like show the little picture, it looks like a Fender amp with a fuzz face or a super fuzz or something attached to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of good. It sounded pretty good. I can see some improvements. I think my song this week was a little weak. I need a little bit of work. You know,
Well, I like that you attempted some vocals on it. I mean, they weren't in
I
the
I,
final mix, but
I did, but they were so bad. I couldn't put them on the mix. I did record. I recorded a track like twice, but it was like it wasn't coming out so good. I'm just not. I'm just so I don't sing very well. Though I got lyrics though, so that was kind of actually part of the goal too, is to write lyrics for the song.
yeah, I
I
like
had
the
lyrics
idea.
on there.
I kind of always thought that like a song needed to have something more than like a chord progression, and I kind of feel like some of my entries have been basically just like background
Oh
music
yeah,
for a song. They're not really
yeah,
a song until you've got a melody
yeah,
or you've got um, vocals and lyrics, because you can have
yeah,
songs that aren't
yeah.
melodic.
It adds a lot of depth, right? Like musical depth with the melody, and then like there's also like a you know intellectual depth because you can think about the lyrics and you can make associations and stuff. Right? And then it adds like a depth of sonic stuff because you have like another instrument like a voice, which is cool. So
Right,
yeah, it does add a lot,
right.
you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, a lot of the instrumental music, not aside from ambient, but a lot of the instrumental music that I like is kind of in the surf category, and surf is kind of like um, it kind of requires that there's a guitar melody being played. Like it's got to have a strong melody.
Oh yeah,
It's not like some guy just playing the blues or something like that. It's like there's a very intentional melody going on, which is what I
yeah,
like about it. That's it's like the way I like to play, even though I make it up as I'm going along.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, for sure, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of really cool melodic stuff going on in all that surf music. I was listening to the Shadows. Hey, yeah. Speaking of which, what did you listen to anything interesting this week?
I did actually. The thing that's on the top of my mind right now is I listened to Takeshi Taruchi and the Bunnies,
Oh yeah,
which is some really great Japanese surf music with some cool, I don't know, like echo
yeah.
fuzz or something on it.
I've seen them on YouTube. They're great. Are they on Bandcamp? Can you get their music on Bandcamp?
I don't recall. I think so. I believe
Okay.
I have found them. I definitely have found them on YouTube. Um,
Yeah, I'm gonna go look them up on Bandcamp. That's good. I should follow that up, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're pretty cool. I also listen to, like some Dr. Legume. Just I was in the mood for some surf.
Yeah.
Um, but somebody turned me on to a thing that I think you'd really like. It's a band from Japan called Toe, Toe.
Okay.
It's a five-piece instrumental band. They're kind of like in the math rock fusion or prog kind of category. But there's a live album that they put out last year where they're kind of playing in a like a like a theater in the round kind of thing where they're surrounded by the audience, and it's um, it's a live album plus live video album, and it's really cool. It's really like people are grooving on it.
Cool. I'll go check it out. I bet it's on YouTube.
It's all on Bandcamp also. Like
Oh,
you can
okay.
watch the whole thing, the whole album
Nice.
on Bandcamp.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you? What are you listening to this week?
You know what I listened to the other day was yesterday I took a walk in the park and I listened to John Spencer Blues
Oh,
Explosion.
excellent. Which
I
album?
listened, I listened to Orange,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and
That's a
I
great
was
album.
gonna buy it on the Apple store, the iTunes store, but then I thought, I wonder if they're on Bandcamp, and it's on Bandcamp, so I bought it on Bandcamp.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's got like 40 songs, or it's like super long. Some of them are repeated or they're live or different recordings. So um, but it's pretty cool. I was getting into it. I like the sound of it.
Yeah, it's a great album. I mean, that's the one that I kind of like associate, like that's like the quintessential John Spencer Blues Explosion album. Did that
Yeah.
come out in like 97 or something like that? It's way, way back.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about it back then. I just heard about it maybe like 10 years ago or so. But I listened to that, and then I followed that up with John Mayall and Blues Breakers,
Oh, very cool.
which is actually, they're kind of related,
Hmm.
right? In a lot of ways.
Well, just like the the name, John
Yeah, well,
Spencer Blues
yeah.
Explosion.
But the same, like musically, like a little bit, they're kind of related. Like John Spencer's like a little nutty, like they get kind of crazy, but if you boil them down, they kind of borrow a lot from the Blues Breakers, or they're kind of similar or they have there's some lineage, let's say. They're an evolution of it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that was in John Spencer's mind when he came up with the concept for that band.
Maybe,
You
he's
don't really,
I picture him more like in the line of, like, I don't know, like Howlin' Wolf or something like that. But that also, like, I'm sure John Mayall was inspired by Howlin' Wolf and those other
oh, I'm sure.
types,
Yeah, because
yeah.
he's part of that British, like back to the the American roots of blues, which is it's crazy to me that like all of that blues rock comes from England. There's nobody doing it here.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they do it well too. The British just do it really good.
Yeah.
You know, no wonder Jimi Hendrix went over there and hit it big, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I mean, he probably would have toiled in obscurity if he had just stayed here.
maybe, yeah, right. Yeah, the other thing I was listening to is Joe Gore put out an album of, like, it's like modern instruments, like I think electric guitar and organ, I don't know what, well, drum machines and things like that, but it's all music from the 13th century. It's a
Oh, that's really
super
cool.
super medieval music. There's a video of him, like an interview with somebody, where he talks about the album and the history and like where the music comes from. And it's pretty interesting because he says, like, back in the 13th century, the whole concept of music back then and composition was very alien to what we know today. And there's a couple things he points out. As he says, like, back then they didn't think in chords, like they didn't build a music, like a musical piece over chord changes. It was just like melodic lines with, several melodic lines for different instruments, and they didn't compose for an instrument. So they didn't say like, okay, this part is played on the piano and this is played on the timpani or the horns or whatever, the violin. You know, they just said like, here's 4 parts and you could play them anyway. And so it could be voice and lute or whatever instruments were available, like organ or something, you know.
Very interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that.
It was pretty good. There was a video. I didn't listen to the whole album, but it's on Bandcamp. So I started listening to it there. And there's a video, one of the songs with an animation that's kind of fun. Like look up the
Cool.
one with the animation because the animation is pretty fun,
Okay.
you know.
Cool.
But it's pretty kooky, you know, and it's kind of inspiring. It's just like a totally different like musical experience, you know. So maybe it kind of opens your mind. He said too that they harmonize a lot on like fourths and fifths, and like the third was kind of a weird passing tone. Like now we build all chords off thirds, you know, so it's kind of like this thing. But he said also back then they were also playing with like just intonation, or no, wait, I forget what they call it, but like one of them's like evenly intonated, like where all the notes are evenly spaced,
Oh, right. Yeah, I can't
you
remember
know?
what that's called, but that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so they use the other intonation where they intone specifically for a key, you know? So like
Right.
the third was like a little sharp of where we have it nowadays, you know? So it sounded like a little more in tune, but they're also their ear was different, you know, the way that they they heard the music and the intervals, you know. But it was kind of enlightening, you know. So you know, that was kind of a good little music lesson, like watching that video. I'm only halfway through. It's like an hour-long interview, so I watched like 30 minutes of that, and then I listened to a little bit of the album, you know.
Cool. Yeah, I'll link to it so that anybody who's watching this can check it out. It's pretty interesting. I that like that intonation idea, because you can get a lot of inspiration from historical music, but how difficult is it to pull off? Like you need an instrument that is, that where you're capable of of editing the intonation in such a way
Yeah,
that you could play music that was intended. I mean, I'm sure Joe um, kind of updated the music to work on modern instruments.
yeah. I think he just played it on regular instruments, like you know, the standard intonation that we use today. He says that in the video too, right?
Right. I mean, you'd have to like move the frets and everything like that to
Yeah,
for an
yeah, you
instrument to
would.
work like that.
Or maybe you could get one of those true temperament necks with the crooked frets. Have you
Oh,
seen
right.
that? You know? Right? So those, I think those necks, they have like a sweeter intonation. So it's like kind of like the I forget what is the word. It's like just intonation and something else. I can't remember, but they kind of work for a couple keys. So like standard keys that you play in, like you know, G, E, A, D, you know, they're more
Hmm.
in tone than like B flat or C sharp or something, you know.
Right. Yeah. I think every instrument that we have is probably biased towards one key or another, accidentally, or it's just a compromise of
Yeah,
trying to achieve the best intonation.
yeah,
I've heard of musicians who they detune their guitar from like from a standard tuning to, I mean, it's still a version of standard tuning, but they've adjusted it for a particular song so that they can play their song and it sounds more in tune than if it were, you know what I'm saying?
yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I do that kind of like unintentionally. Like sometimes I'll be playing something and I'm like, that chord sounds a little out of tune. So then I'll like tweak like the B string or the G string, and then I'm like, oh, that sounds sweeter. But like I'm actually like if I check with a tuner, I'm a little sharper flat on those strings.
Right.
You know, and then maybe some of the other chords are not sounding right, but the chord that I'm playing is like in tune, you know. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
Dan's into that thing. I forget he's into like the 336 or whatever,
432. Yeah.
432, that's the one, right?
Right.
So that's just like 8 cents flat of like standard 440 for some reason, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, all of the strings are, like
Yeah,
according in accordance with that
yeah.
A. But
It's kind of like tuning to E flat or something, you know, but actually he's tuned to, you know, E just a little bit flat.
Right. Yeah, there's like a lot of debate on the internet about like um does that does that tuning like stop interdimensional beings from entering our world, or you know, whatever it does. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard like 440 is like has something physiological, like it kind of the vibrations of 440 kind of match some sort of mental vibrations that people have, but I don't know. You know,
yeah, it
just
makes
I
it
read
easier to
something.
pacify.
Yeah, they said 440. So A is like kind of like this like harmonious tone for your physical being or something. But I don't know, whatever, you know. I like A. I play an A. A is great.
Yeah,
Great.
A's a good one.
Yeah.
E's
That
pretty good too.
last that last piece I did for this week's song, I played it in G, but I played it in A, but my guitar was tuned down a whole step. so, so it ended
Oh,
up
okay.
being in G, you know. But actually it's kind of cool because I could play it in, it's not tuned down so low I can't play it on a standard tuning guitar, you know.
Right.
You know, but anyway, yeah, so hey, what are you working on this week? Got any projects?
What projects am I actually going to do this week? Um, you know, I think I probably am going to uh, I think I'm probably going to swap the pickups on the plywood guitar, and I'm definitely going to replace the bridge on it because I think that the intonation is it's got one of those lightning bolt bridges with a wraparound. So
Yeah.
I got an intonatable um, wraparound bridge, so I'm going to put that on it.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, nothing big. How about you?
Um, I got a few projects done. I finished up this DS1. So this is like the standard DS1 from the Boss pedal, but I fit it in this 125B enclosure. And then I did the Keeley mods, you know, so it sounded pretty good. You know, I just played it today. I just finished it this morning. So I played around with this and it sounds okay. And everything's working. And then I had a bunch of circuit boards made. Um, so I got this board here for, this is like Tim Escobedo's pulse width modulation circuit, right? So I got this board for that, and I built one of these up, and it's working. So I'm going to make a blog post about it. So if anybody wants to build it for themselves, they can do it.
Oh, great.
So this is the pulse width modulator, and then I did another stack of boards for the Vulcan,
Oh, nice.
right? So I'm going to build one of those, and then what else did I do? I did this is a tremolo, but it's from this like a long time ago, back in like the like 2000, right? So like 20 years ago, there was a guy Nicolas Boscarelli, and he had a website. This is back when websites were a new thing and Google had not been invented yet, right? I don't remember using Google. I searched the internet with like web crawler and other search things, right? And Nicolas Boscarelli had a um, a newsletter called Stompboxology. And
Oh,
so I
nice.
bought, and back then you could buy his newsletter from him. You just sent him like some money in the mail or something, right? And then he sent you like I have it up on my bookshelf. He sent you like a binder, like a 3-ring binder, and the newsletter was just paper with 3 holes in it, and you could just put it in the binder, right?
Crazy.
Like I bought a couple copies because he had different newsletters. He's had like volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I forget how many of these there were, but I bought a couple of them. I didn't buy them all. I kind of wish I had bought them all because what happened later was he published a book called the Stompbox Cookbook, right? And then he just totally disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to Nicolas Boscarelli. He's just totally gone. Right, you know. But I one of the things I bought was this episode called Going Discreet was one of the newsletters, and it was all about making effects with transistors. And actually I learned a lot about transistors from that newsletter. And so there's a bunch of projects in there. There's like a fuzz distortion box. There's a booster, treble booster. There's a couple tremolos. There's a mixer. There's a few projects in there. And then there's this tremolo here that uses a like a 14-pin chip that has a bunch of transistors on it. So it's basically, it's a chip, but it's like a transistor array. And it uses that to make a VCA that the transistor that the tremolo uses, right? So it always looked like a cool project, and so I'm finally getting around to building it. You know.
Cool. I
You
like
know, it's like,
tremolo.
yeah, I
Did
did that.
Nicolas Boscarelli, did he create those schematics or did he collect them?
Oh no, all this stuff. What's cool is all of his projects are original.
Wow.
Yeah, they're all they're all original. Yeah, and they're actually super unique. Like they're not like all the other projects you see. Like they're not like derivative of like tube screamers and big muffs and fuzz faces and things like that. Like they're totally different, you know. So they're pretty inspiring. So anyway, so I finally built one of those up, and I'm gonna see how it works and see, or hopefully my PCB will work, you know.
Right. So you made that in Eagle and shipped that off to one of the
Yeah,
circuit board vendors.
yeah, exactly. I laid everything, I laid the schematic out in Eagle. And they're actually, in his newsletter, there's a mistake in the schematic too. He has a like the schematic picture, a list of parts, and then there's like an image of what you would do, how you would wire it up on a solderless breadboard, you know. And in the main schematic, it's missing the depth control, the pot, but it's in the layout for the breadboard.
Hmm.
So I kind of matched it up from there, and I'm pretty sure I put it in the right spot, you know, but I had to figure that out, you know. You know, so it's pretty interesting. You know, he's got a few projects. There's a project he's got a newsletter on ring modulators, and there's another one on I think there's actually a whole like tremolo issue just all about tremolos, you know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can find them online now. Some people publish them online. You
Okay,
can
great.
include a
So
link to them.
those ones that you missed, you can still get.
I think so. I don't know if all of them are available, but they're there, you know.
Okay,
You
cool.
know, but anyway,
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. So I did that. And then so I built like this circuit board is in here, right? All the pots, you know, it just sits in there like this, you know. You know, and then it worked. So that was kind of happy. I was happy to I was happy that it all worked, right?
Yeah.
I sent a couple boards. Steve, actually, I was kind of collaborating with Steve on this. He was like, hey, can you make a circuit board for this project? And I was like, I don't know, I think so, you know. And so I made it, and then I sent him a couple boards, you know. So he's gonna maybe build a couple, you know. Then the other thing I did was I wanted to get this Sustainiac fixed. I had this old Sustainiac. This is from around 2000. It's pretty old, right?
What is that green material around it?
Oh, it's actually yellow. It's just like a heat shrink tubing.
Oh,
It's like a
okay.
big
And
piece
that's
of heat
when it
shrink.
goes into the guitar. It's
Yeah,
it,
so it's all
it's a
sealed. It's all sealed in here, you know. But and it works great. The Sustainiac is super unique and original. It has a pickup that's special, and when you switch on the Sustainiac, you have this in your guitar. This is the driver, and so the pickup is kind of works the opposite of a regular guitar pickup. It listens to your bridge pickup and then sends the signal and amplifies it through the pickup that's in the neck. And then that actually creates a magnetic field that vibrates the string. So you get kind of like infinite sustain or feedback from the Sustainiac. Like you turn on the pickup and you can turn this knob that sets the strength of the driver, right?
right.
But mine has a problem where, like, if the Sustainiac is off, there's a little bit of like grainy kind of sound, kind of like you're getting a little bit of overdrive or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't sound bad, but you can't get a clean tone out of it. But if you turn the Sustainiac on, then you can hear it, it's clean, right? And so I asked the guy that makes it, and And he told me, oh no, that's just a flaw in the thing. And the only way to fix it is to buy a newer one of the boards. And he's like, it's like $100. Right. And then he's like, yeah, and our new board has a different wiring harness. So you got to buy a new wiring harness for another $10. So that'd be like $110 to replace it. And then I was like, I don't know if I want to spend that much, maybe I'll just use this one the way that it is,
Well, you have two of those ones, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So the other one, the one that's installed in your Subsonic, does that one have that same problem?
Yeah, it does, because it's exactly the same. They're both the same model. He said they updated it in a newer version, and the newer one works, works a little better, but anyway, so I was debating about that. I think I'm just going to keep this one and use it as is,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the noise sounds like it's a pretty subtle thing.
Yeah, well, you can notice it kind of like it's there. Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing in the product. I mean, I think the product is pretty cool. Like, it's got a super unique thing. It's pretty fun, but and it's pretty works pretty well, except for that one thing. But then I guess he's updated it in the new version, but I have the old one, right?
Right.
So, and then I took this one apart. I took the heat shrink off, and I was looking at it, and it's all these like surface mount parts in here too. So it'll be really hard to even modify this,
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's by design.
Yeah, and he doesn't supply any schematics or anything. So, you're kind of, it'd be really hard to figure it out, But anyway, so it's not that disappointing, but it is a little bit disappointing. It would have been nice if I could get this one updated, but I guess it's
Right.
not possible.
Yeah.
Anyway,
What are you gonna do with that one? What are you gonna
I'm
put it
gonna
into?
I'm gonna put it in another guitar. I got this guitar over here. I'm gonna try and fit it in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the neck pickup does the neck pickup act as a pickup when it's not on Sustainiac mode?
Yeah. When you have
Okay.
a Sustainiac off, you can use the neck pickup as a regular pickup, and it sounds okay. It's not
Okay.
like the most amazing neck pickup, but it doesn't sound bad. It just sounds okay. You know, there's a bunch of circuit, and it's like in here that when you flick the switch to turn on the Sustainiac, it just automatically, no matter what your guitar is switched to, it switches on the bridge pickup and then turns on the driver.
Okay.
So like regardless of what you have on your guitar switch,
Right. Interesting.
it's pretty interesting. It's got two controls too. There's a knob that's the driver, so it turns on how much drive you have, and it's like a push-pull switch. So you pull it out and it turns on the driver, and then you can turn the drive knob to say how much drive you want, like how much sustain or feedback. And then the other, the tone control is no longer a tone control, but it's a push-pull pot, and as you turn it, when it's pushed in, it sets like the harmonic mode. So when it feeds back, you can turn it and it switches between the fundamental and a harmonic. And the harmonic is like a third or a fifth, right? And if you pull it out, it has a mix mode, and you can kind of mix the third and the fifth.
Oh,
As
interesting.
you turn the knob, right? So it's got a subtle difference. So it's kind of like, when you have the amp loud and you hit a note, and then you start to hear some feedback, and you hear the fundamental of the note, but then it kind of evolves into a fifth, like it kind of changes a little bit. This does that, right, as you turn the knob. So
That's really cool.
you'll be getting the fundamental, and then you can turn the knob and it'll switch to the harmonic,
That's pretty cool.
It's
And I think
actually super neat.
I think that's the difference between the Ebo that I have and the Ebo Plus, which came out in the 90s, which it has a harmonic mode.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, they have that built in. The difference though is with the Ebo, you're usually just driving a single string, and this, it drives all the strings. But the weird thing though is, like, and this kind of like where the limitation of it is that sooner or later all the strings play the same note, because the signal going through is like one frequency. It's just the harmonic or the fundamental. And so like you hit a chord and then sooner or later, like all the chords gravitate towards one note. It doesn't matter what you're fretting, you know?
That's pretty interesting. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, you'd you'd be playing new notes often enough or switching your chords often enough that you could, you know, deal with that limitation.
Maybe.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
you could also use that to good effect.
yeah. Yeah, you can get like kind of infinite sustain, like you can hit a note, but you have to be a little, it's kind of like playing slide. You have to like mute the other strings.
Hmm.
I mean, you don't have to, but they'll start to ring, you know?
Right.
You get like, and actually it's just like, it's a lot like just getting controlled feedback, because just like feedback, like the heavier strings will feedback more,
Hmm.
right? They'll tend to feedback sooner. This is the same way that the heavier strings have more like metallic mass, so the driver affects them stronger. Like the lighter strings, like they won't kick in with the sustain as fast, you know, or the feedback.
Right. I gotta try one of these things someday.
It's
I've
cool.
never
Yeah,
played with a sustainer.
I'll loan you one of mine if you want to try it out, you know. It's pretty fun. You got to remember, like, because whenever you plug it's kind of like a guitar pedal. Like if you plug the jack into the guitar, it turns on the effect. It's not
Hmm.
like engaged, but the thing is running, right?
Right.
You know,
So
so if
you're
you
eating
leave,
batteries.
yeah, exactly. If you leave your guitar plugged in, it'll drain your battery, right? And it takes a 9-volt battery to run it, you
Hmm.
know. So you just got to always remember to unplug it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think I've killed batteries in my bass like that.
Yeah, yeah, I've done it. I've done it with this before. They have you can wire it up in a couple different ways. Like you can put some toggle switches on the outside. Like I did the method because my guitar, the way that it was set up, it just had the two knobs, you know. So they have a setup where you can have the push pull knobs. You know, you have to give up your tone control, right? But if you need the tone controller, if you have space for another knob, then you can put some switches in. I think you can put an on off switch on it too. So that
Okay.
might be a good option, you know. Fernandez makes one of these too. Theirs is a little bit different, but Fernandez makes one, and you can get like a couple of the Fernandez guitars come with a built-in sustainer. Theirs is like a little bit different. And then I think there's some weird thing with a patent around this too. So that's why they can't do some of it and other people aren't making it.
Hmm. Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if Fernandez um, pays royalty or some kind of patent fee on it, but I'm not sure. Fender sells a Strat. It's the guy from Radiohead. I forget his name.
Yeah, I'm not remembering what it
Yeah, I'm
is
not a
as
big
well.
Radiohead person, but the guitar player from Radiohead, he has one of these built into his guitar, and so Fender has a signature version. It's like just like basically kind of a cream colored Strat, and it has a Sustainiac built in.
And it's the Sustainiac branded one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. Steve Vai has one of these too.
Mm, okay.
You know, I don't
Ed
know that
O'Brien is the name of the guy from Radiohead.
what.
Ed O'Brien.
Yeah, that's the guy. It's the Ed O'Brien Strat. Yeah. And then Steve Vai has one. I don't think that it's in because he has like a signature Ibanez, but I don't know if the signature Ibanez comes with the Sustainiac. Probably some weird licensing agreement. I don't know, but I don't know that his guitar comes with the Sustainiac, but he has one. You know, he uses it on a couple songs. You know, it's pretty good. Like if you're really good with the whammy bar, like you can just get it sustaining a note, and then you could just play it like a violin with the whammy bar. You know.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, because the note will just go on forever, you know.
Right.
Vi does this thing where he'll get the guitar and he's like, it's super dramatic, you know. I don't know if you've ever seen any videos of him. He'll have like, there's a tour where he's got a fan. It's just like a oscillating, you know, desk fan like you might have in your house, but it's in the
Hmm.
front of the stage, like facing up at him. And he's got this long hair. And so the wind is always blowing his it's great for the camera, right? They try to not get the fan on the camera, you know, but his hair is always flowing, you know. And then he does this thing where he lifts the guitar up and he blows on the strings, and then a note comes in, you know, right? You know, and it's kind of a cool dramatic thing, but I bet he's got the Sustainiac when he does that.
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
You
I don't
know,
know. I've never tried blowing on the strings, but that might work without a
yeah.
Sustainiac.
I don't know, but that's what he does. He does this thing where he's kind of holding it up. It's a little like Jimi Hendrix kind of thing, except he's a little more
Mm-hmm.
like, um, I don't know what you call it, but he's a little more like,
Like a magician, like a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, no offense to Steve Vai because he's totally amazing.
He's
Like
a great entertainer.
he's taken the like guitar playing to like the next level. I remember when I heard his Flexible album in high school, I was just like gobsmacked. I was like, oh my God, who played this? This is so crazy, And then he was on the cover of Guitar Player magazine, and they had a flexi disc with a transcription of the Attitude song, you know. And I was
Oh,
trying to learn the Attitude song, and it's just so hard, to play. I mean, you can kind of pick up the notes, but then like to play it the way he plays it is just like crazy.
mm-hmm.
And then
You know,
it's got a bunch of weird time signatures in it too. It's like 7/16 or some weird.
yeah, I'm not good at counting out that stuff, and I've kind of come to the opinion that if you're counting, you're not playing. So yeah, time signatures. Steve
Yeah.
Vai can have them.
Yeah, I gotta. That's one of those things. I think you gotta just train yourself to do it. I can't do it, but if I hear the thing and I get the feel for it, then I don't. The time signature doesn't matter. But if I got the feel, then I'm like, I can put the notes in the right place.
Right,
But
right, right,
I would be like taking my musicianship up a notch if I could count it in my head also.
right.
But that's okay. Like I'm nobody's paying me to make any music. I'm just doing it for fun.
Well, I mean that's the thing. It's got to be fun, and for me, like right now, counting out advanced type signatures is not fun. But like if you're trying to play something like Whipping Post or whatever by the Allman Brothers, and there's like a cool groove in, I don't remember what the time signature is, then that's the fun in that. Is
Yeah,
playing the groove. It's not about counting.
yeah, right. Yeah,
But
right.
as a
So,
composer, I don't think about things in weird time signatures.
yeah, I'm not quite there yet. But I have a good time just playing the groove. I feel like if you get a good groove, that's kind of like, you know, pat on the back there.
Right.
Yeah, so far I got this week's song. My songs were the last couple of weeks were a little weak, but I feel like they're all like good to go on my album. So I got like 9 songs that are in the like kind of surf spy blues kind of thing. So it's looking pretty good. I could have an EP.
That's great. You're working towards an album.
Yeah. I mean, they need work, but like the 1 week songs are kind of rough, the recording.
Hmm.
So, but I think the song is there, right? So I
This
could always go back and add something or.
right. Yeah. I mean, I think that should be, maybe that'll be one of the week, song of the week will be a redo of an earlier song,
Yeah, right.
or
Some of them actually kind of are, to be honest, is some of the songs like I had the idea for a few years, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna just put that down now.
yeah. No, I have a bunch of ideas that I want to flesh out in GarageBand. Um, but right now, what I'm doing with the song of the week is I'm trying to put in something that, um, like I'm trying to get my inspiration from something that we talk about on the show, or a particular effect that I want to try out. Like this week, I wanted to work with the um, backwards echo, and then additionally, I got the the Volca keys, so I wanted to work that in. So those were the parameters for the song, and I think it helps to have parameters as a point of inspiration.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the song of the week is great for just like you know trying out new things.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think it's great for that. And then also it gives you like a body of stuff to work with, you know, because I mean, you could spend years just having a couple ideas in your head and never going anywhere, but at least like in the week, if you're like, I put that idea down in you know, recorded form, you know, which is kind of, and it forces you to think about the structure of the song and, you know, kind of complete some things rather than
Yeah.
just playing part A, B all the time, you know?
And it also gives you the experience of finishing. Well, the experience of doing the recording. Like, if you're just thinking about a song, even if you have the whole thing mapped out in your brain, until you've actually done the work of recording it, then you don't exercise that, that technician
Yeah,
muscle. Like, I I feel like I've advanced my skills of using the synth in this week's song, and if I do it again, I will actually be able to do multiple tracks of synth rather than having like I recorded all of my devices at once this week,
mhm,
but I'd like to be able to mix some down in the future. So
yeah,
rather than going through the mixer and just playing them all together, I'd have to record them all in time, and you know like you develop the techniques when you're doing things like this, the weekly
yeah,
song, that you'll use to do that. That
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think the weekly thing is good, you know, just putting a limit on it. Otherwise, you're not you could spend years like working the perfect song out and not make any progress because, you know, you never laid anything down concrete, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I hit on this idea this week that was it's kind of like it's been done 100,000 times, but it never occurred to me to do it, you know? And it was like I didn't really think that I needed an intro, but I kind of wanted to have an intro to the song, but I couldn't think of anything. And so I just put the song down without the intro, and then I was like, okay, whatever. And then later, the song is basically like kind of in a 12 bar blues format. It's a little bit altered, but it's basically the 12 bars, you know? But what I did is I took the turnaround, right, the last 4 bars, and I put it I started with that as the intro.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, yeah, and it was a really good idea. So now, like, I can add that to my vocabulary, you know, like, I mean, I don't know why it never occurred to me before because it's such a, like, a simple idea, you know, and I'm sure other people did it, and I just didn't really associate, you know, I wasn't like, oh, they're doing the turnaround here. I was just like, oh, that's how the song starts, you know?
Right. Yeah, or they just cut it in early or something.
Yeah, right. It never occurred to me, and then this week I hit on it, and then I tried it, and then I was like, oh yeah, actually that's a good idea. And then you know what I did too at the end for the outro is I did the turnaround twice, so I just repeated it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that was a good idea too. You know, so this was like a good like, you know, just kind of I place to like, you know, this weekly song thing is like just a great place to just like try out ideas like that, you know, and actually like you have to put them down. Like you could try them out just playing it yourself, but not recording it and making it a complete thing doesn't really test the idea, you know?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's been really good for that, just like getting the machines going and and working out ideas. Like jamming on the couch is it's never a waste of time for me. But if you actually aren't recording, um, then the utilities. I don't know. You're missing out. I think if you're just jamming on the couch and you haven't put the turned on the recording, then you're missing out.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's great to record something every week. I feel like too, like in the past, like I'd have these song ideas and then I'm like, oh, that's a great idea, you know? And then the next day I won't remember it. I'll be like, oh yeah, I had this thing, it was these chords, but then I'm like, I can't quite get the same feel,
Hmm.
you know, like, and so like I kind of remember the notes, but I'm not getting like the rhythm and the feel for it. And, you know, then I forget what it is, but putting it down on the recording, you know, you just go back and you're like, oh, there it is, you know?
Yeah, yeah. It's like sometimes you're like, oh, that wasn't that great, but um, other times you might be like, it doesn't matter that it's not that great. It's the foundation for the rest of the song. It's good enough for that.
Yeah.
And
So,
then
hey, so
sometimes you
what,
might be like, that's totally great.
Yeah, I know, right? It's totally worthwhile, you know. It's been a little bit hard getting the song every week, like being complete. That's like actually the hardest part is actually just doing the work,
Yeah.
which like, there it is, right? That says it all, doesn't it? Right. Hey, I got a question. So, what are you going to work on this week? Projects for the week?
Well, like I said, I was going to work on the plywood guitar, but I've got a bunch of other things that that I'm going to do that are, I think, more exciting. I'm going to replace the pickups on my Mustang with those little killers, and
Nice.
get rid of these low output Fender ones, and then it'll be wired. So humbucker, single coil, and off in the middle. I won't have the parallel option anymore. It's okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got some other mods that I'm going to do for that one. Um, yeah, I don't know, just various kind of quality of life improvements for my arsenal.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
Um, well, I got a couple things. I could build up these circuit boards that I just got. So I might build one of those. Um, and then I got that pick guard too, so I might install that. And then there's the song for the week. And then I think I'm going to try and listen to the rest of that Joe Gore album.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I was kind of enjoying it. So I think I might listen to the rest of it. That'll be my listening. Um, I had like I said, I got this like kind of surf spy kind of blues kind of album, like started, so like I got a body of songs there, I got maybe 9 songs. Um, and then I have this kind of stoner rock album thing that's got it's got maybe 3 or 4 songs on it, that are kind of recorded.
Hmm.
I got like at least 3, maybe 4 songs. But then I have this other folder of song ideas that are just this kind of like stoner doom, but like it's kind of like the like this music, like the 13th century medieval music, but it's like I hit on this like this thing that was it was like a Gregorian chant,
Oh, that's right.
and I
That's
was
right.
playing it with
Yeah.
the big muff and it was sounding kind of doomy, and so I was trying to make up some more, so I have this like this folder called Chants of Doom. And so I was thinking I might, like Joe's album was kind of getting me into this idea. So I was thinking I might try and borrow some ideas from that and work on some of the songs in that folder.
Excellent idea. I like that you're thinking about these things in terms of albums instead of just like a random collection of songs. Because it's easy to forget about, like your sound.
Yeah, when we had the band thing going, like I always felt like we did a lot of songs that kind of spanned a few kind of genre territories. I
Hmm.
always felt like maybe we should put the ideas into one zone. And so I'm trying to do that here. Like, so I got a bunch of songs that are kind of like, you know, in one, I don't know, one kind of language or something. So I don't know, we'll see, but yeah, I'm kind of got them grouped, right?
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, that's good. My ideas are pretty far. They're all over the place. Um, gotta.
yeah. Well, I think they have a similar sound though too, right? So there's some of the sounds I'm hearing are similar, so that you could put them together. Some maybe not, but a few of them are they definitely have share a lineage, let's say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the synthesizer is kind of like it's a new kind of departure for me. Um, like I didn't have any, like a compelling synthesizer for many years, so I'm kind of digging that. But it doesn't. It's hard to make it fit with the kind of like surf country, you know, um, instrumental rock thing.
Yeah. I feel like you got to go get back to your roots and
Hmm.
listen to some Human League and Eurythmics or something.
Oh yeah, I could do that, or I could try to make the synthesizer more like when you hear a song like "Telstar" by the
Oh yeah.
Ventures. That's a pretty cool keyboard-based Ventures song.
Oh, for sure, right? That's a great one. Yeah. Okay. Hey, should we call it a day? You got any final words?
Um, how about uh, you know, please, if you're watching this and you're making songs, put your SoundCloud link in the description or in the comments. We'd love to hear what you're working on. And thanks for watching. And we'll see you in the next one.
Okay.